Good morning, sir.
Good morning,
Good
sir.
morning. Yeah. So we were talking about the extraction of metals from the naturally occurring substances called, sir, and kindly notice, mineral ore. All ores are minerals, but all minerals are not ores. Why like that?
Minerals are not commercially feasible, so that's why.
Like all mothers are ladies, but all ladies are not mothers. See, all ores are minerals, but all minerals are not ores because the mineral from which metal is extracted profitably is called ore. And the rocky impurities with a high melting point is called gangue. In order to remove gangue, to lower the melting point of gangue, flux is added. Flux. Gangue has very high melting point, like it is a rock, and for example, in iron oxide, SiO2 itself is gangue. In the copper extraction, iron oxide is gangue. Gangue is that has a high melting point, which I don't want. Impurity with a high melting point. In order to remove this particular gangue, I add flux. If the gangue is acidic in nature, for example, SiO2 is acidic in nature, then I will be adding flux, which is basic in nature. If the gangue is basic in nature, like MgO, then I will be adding flux that is acidic in nature. So the type of flux I use depends on the type of gangue. Whenever the gangue combines with the flux, I will be getting what is called a slag. The slag usually has a lower density and floats over the molten mass. When I add flux to my ore, the flux part will lower the melting point of gangue and combines with it, and that makes a slag that floats on the liquid mass. Therefore, the slag can be taken out easily with the help of ladles, and the slag after cooling can be broken down and that can be used to make tops of roads. Sometimes powder slag is used as a construction material. You can see it is sold at a cheaper price than sand. It is there in Hyderabad city. Whenever you want to construct a building, they are asking, you want to have fly ash or you want to have sand? Fly ash is cheaper. Slag is also called fly ash. Are we very clear about these terms, sir?
Yes, sir.
For example, if SiO2 is your gangue, you can add CaO as flux, then you will get calcium silicate as slag. Gangue, flux. It is acidic in nature, therefore it is basic in nature, and it is what floats. SiO2 is the gangue in case of iron ores, whereas iron oxide is a gangue in copper ores. Depending on the nature of the very gangue, there can be different methods to remove it. The method of removing impurities is called concentration of the ore. The concentration strategies depend on the nature of the impurity. If the impurity is heavy, hydraulic washing can help to remove the heavier impurities. If the impurity is magnetic in nature, magnetic method is useful to remove the magnetic natured impurities. So, The most important thing in the metallurgical extraction is concentrating the ore. Sometimes you use water solutions, that is called leaching, to concentrate the ores. We have seen aluminum ore, bauxite is concentrated in leaching process by treating it with NaOH. Only aluminum dissolves as sodium tetrahydroxyaluminate ions, sodium tetrahydroxyaluminate compound. That dissolves and impurities are left. You filter, take the solution, add carbon dioxide bubbles. Then all the aluminum gets frustrated as aluminum oxide, and that aluminum oxide can be subjected to electrolysis to get aluminum. Similarly, we talked about 1248 reaction. That is used for leaching of silver and gold like metals. You remember what is 1? 1 is oxygen. What is 2? 2 is water. What is 4? 4 is the metal in question like gold and silver. And 8 is cyanide ions.
Cyanide.
Notice the gold and silver have some speciality. The gold and silver, to a small extent copper, they are available in native state in earth. Native state means uncombined form. Gold is available as gold powder along with sand and rock. Silver, to a small extent, is available as silver itself. Whereas in case of iron, iron is never ever available in elemental form. It is always in form of compounds. Only very few elements, noble metals, are available in elemental form because they are less reactive, because of their electrode potentials are highly positive. They have no tendency to lose electrons. Iron, and if you look at these type of metals, they have negative electrode potentials, means they lose electrons to oxygen of air. So these fellows are available as their oxides in nature. Even if you buy iron metal, slowly it will combine with oxygen of air to become iron oxide. The natural process where a metal become again ore is called corrosion. But gold has highly positive electrode potential. It has no tendency to lose electrons to oxygen. Even a million years, gold remains as gold in seawater. That is the reason why gold is available in elemental state. Are we very clear, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, in the extraction of metals, we have second stage, that is the method of converting a metal into its oxide form, because easier it is to extract metals from their oxides. Copper ore is available as copper glance, Cu2s. Sometimes it is available as dolomite, CuCO3, CuOH taken twice, malachite. Malachite is basic copper carbonate. CuCO3 dot, CuOH taken twice. Zinc is available as zinc blend ZNS. Lead is available as galena PBS. If you can convert these fellows into oxides, then further it would be easier to convert the oxide into metal. So the strategy is to convert the ores into oxide form. One way is strongly heat the ore in oxygen, that is called roasting. To do this, you have different furnaces. They can be called as, say, blast furnace. In the blast furnace, you take ore and give a blast of hot air, because you are blasting hot air into a very long furnace. That is called a blast furnace. This is a blast of very strongly heated air. You will be pumping into the powdered ore plus some other additives. That mixture which you are throwing into a blast furnace is called charge. The blast furnace is very tall, like 100 feet, more than 100 feet. Once you ignite blast furnace, it continues to burn for 5 years. It's a very huge facility. You can see it in Visakhapatnam steel plant. You know how many workers will be working around blast furnace? Do you know?
Don't know.
So,
Around 5,000 to 6,000 people. Such a big facility it is. It works round the clock. Total workers in steel plant is around 1.5 lakhs. Such a big furnace it is. Blast furnace. You have other furnaces where the material is heated indirectly. You actually put fire, the heat radiation will touch the roof, and the roof will be having shining material that reflects the heat radiation onto the material you want to heat. That is called a reverberatory furnace. Sometimes, you directly put the material and the material that is burning together. That is called blast furnace. The carbon which is burning is in touch with the ore. Directly the ore is in flames. In a reverberatory furnace, only heat radiation indirectly touching the ore. It is something like making a chapati and cooking it in open fire, or cooking the chapati on pan. Sometimes you cook the food in rice cooker, where this is totally enclosed. So if you are heating the ore like in a cooker, this is called muffle furnace. If you are cooking a chapati in pan, that is something like reverberatory furnace. If you are directly cooking chapati in open fire, that is something like blast furnace. So there are furnaces which are heating devices. They are used for heating the ores. Most of the time, the heating is a necessity in the extraction of metals from the ores. Are we together on these ideas, sir? Hello. Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Are we together? Or I'm just talking Greek and Latin to you. Am I making sense? Hello.
Yes, sir.
We will be exploring this a bit quickly because I want to complete this chapter this week. This is relatively very easy chapter and it takes really less time. The concept is very simple. But this chapter guaranteedly carries one question in IIT means. Almost always they ask one question from this. In this chapter, only one thing is a bit cumbersome. That is Ellingham diagrams, about which I talked. Yes, this is the topic in question. What is this diagram? This is a sketch of reverberatory furnace. In this sketch, you can see that charge hopper is something through which you can put the charge. Charge is there. Here you are heating. And now what happens? The bottom fire is coming. And now the heat radiation will touch the surface. The hangers are reflecting surface. And now the heat radiation is reflected back and in the sides charge is heated. Okay. This is a diagram of reverberatory furnace. Hello, can you see my screen? Hello? Hello?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, wait. This is called reverberatory furnace. In the reverberatory furnace, you can carry out an operation called roasting. Notice that calcination and roasting are the operations which aim to convert the metal into the oxide form. For example, if you have Fe2O3 excess 2O known as hematite, which is a solid, you can remove the water or content by heating it in the absence of air. That is calcination. If you have calamine, that is zinc carbonate, if you are heating strongly in the absence of air, zinc carbonate will decompose to give Zn1CO2. If you have dolomite, whose formula is CaCO3.MgCO3, on calcination, it will become CaOMgO on CO2. All this calcination is involving heating in the absence of air or in very limited supply of air. Volatile matter escapes. Whereas roasting is a process where you are heating the ore in ample supply of air. Here the oxide is produced by partial oxidation. Zinc blende ZnS on roasting gives ZnO plus SO2, SO2 escapes out. Galena PBS on roasting gives lead oxide plus SO2. Copper pyrite Cu2S on roasting gives cuprous oxide and sulfur dioxide. Sometimes copper ore contain iron as an impurity, iron oxide. This iron oxide is known as gangue. The gangue is basic in nature. Therefore, in the extracts of copper, in order to remove the unwanted iron oxide, whatever that is unwanted is called a gangue. You add sand, SiO2, which is acidic in nature. It is called flux. The flux and gangue combine to give slag. Suppose you are extracting iron. There is gold, which is there as an impurity. Then the gold is to be called as gangue. Because you don't want gold, you want iron, you want to extract iron. So in the extraction process, whatever you don't want, whatever that has high melting point, must be an impurity and to be called as gangue. Are we very clear, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Notice in the metallurgical operations, if you are getting SO2, you don't throw it out. The SO2 you use to make sulfuric acid. If you are getting CO2, you don't throw it out. You use CO2 to make sodium carbonate. So every product you get is not wasted. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, once you got the metal oxide, how to convert the metal oxide into metal? By using something that takes away oxygen. Whatever that takes away oxygen is called a reducing agent. The reducing agent can be anything. It can be carbon, it can be carbon monoxide, it can be sodium metal, it can be potassium metal, it can be tin, it can be anything. But that anything you have to think, which is cheaper for you, which is available for you, which is giving better result, which is requiring less heating. You have a choice. So the choice of reducing agent is dependent on the place where you are and country where you are and what are the available things you have. Essentially, reducing agent is one which takes away oxygen from metal oxide to give you metal. Now, what is the best choice of reducing agent? The best choice of reducing agent is decided on the basis of Ellingham diagram. What is that, sir? What is
Ellingham
the name of
diagram.
Ellingham diagram. The Ellingham diagram, I want to straight away go into it. Ellingham diagram. Are we clear, sir? Now,
Yes.
a little bit knowledge of thermodynamics you need at this point of time. What things can happen, what things cannot happen. If I take paper and burn with the help of a burning matchstick, will the paper catch fire? Is it possible for me to burn down a paper?
Yes,
Can
Yes.
I burn petroleum? If I put a burning matchstick in petroleum, will it burn?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So if I put a burning matchstick in water, will it burn?
No.
No, sir.
So water has no tendency to undergo combustion, whereas petroleum has a tendency to undergo combustion. Paper has a tendency to undergo combustion, but if I have an iron sheet, it is not having tendency to undergo combustion as easily as paper has. Yes or no? Yes, sir. In
Yes,
fact, paper requires less heating to catch fire. In fact, if you heat iron strongly, even iron can catch fire and burn to give iron oxide. Once iron starts burning, you can't control the reaction because that much heat energy is produced. Iron continues to burn in oxygen to give iron oxide under tremendous amount of heat energy. But it is difficult to start the combustion of iron because its energy of activation is very high. Therefore, I would like to say some materials have tendency to undergo combustion, some do not have. Is that fine with you?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Now, my point here is anything that can happen by itself when the paper is burning, when magnesium ribbon is burning, when petrol is burning, I notice one common thing. What is that common thing?
Heat energy.
Delta
Liberate.
H is negative, heat energy is released. When enthalpy change is negative, it means when the product has lower energy than reactant, heat energy is released. When paper is burnt, really, the carbon dioxide, water vapor are produced. The carbon dioxide, water vapor produced have really less energy than the paper itself. The difference in the energy between the product and the reactant will come out as heat energy. So if delta H is negative, probably the reaction can happen by itself. Yes or no?
Yes.
Hello. But unfortunately, when wood is burning, heat is released, but wood itself is not catching fire. When book is burned, heat energy is released, but book itself is not catching fire. Why like that? See, sir, when book is burning, I am saying carbon dioxide is produced. The carbon dioxide has lower energy and the book itself has higher energy. When you are there on the top of a building, when you are there on the top of a mountain, you have high energy. When you are in a valley, you have less energy. So a person on the top of a mountain can happily fall down to the bottom of valley. But a fellow who is there in the bottom of valley cannot himself go to the top of a mountain. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So reactions will proceed in a direction where high energy fellow will go to a state of low energy. Person who is standing on the top of a building can jump onto the ground and break his head and die. Because a person on the top of a building has high energy, on the ground he has low energy. When he is going from high energy state to low energy state, difference in the energy comes out with that much force that will break all his body parts into pieces. That is the chemistry. Agreed or not?
Yes.
A person who is there on the ground himself cannot go onto the top of the building unless he uses a lift. Because in nature there is direction. High energy to low energy reactions happen. Low energy state to high energy reaction cannot happen by itself. You have to force it. Yes or no?
Yes.
Now the direction of a reaction. Whether it can happen or not. One of the parameters is to say delta H. If delta H is
अरे मैं क्या बोला प्यार से बात कर रहा हूँ एंजॉय योर शॉपिंग बोला नहीं भाई ना होता ऐसे जमा करके क्या हम सलाह लेकिन पप्पा
unfortunately, I am trying to mute all of you because you are talking and that's not fair, right? I have now disallowed you to speak. I'm sorry, sir. Normally, I dislike people to mute because if they speak, I will be knowing whether they are following or not. If I can't hear you, how do I know whether you are following me? Now you have forced me to mute you. Sorry. Now, this is a very important concept. Based on this, IIT mains and advanced questions are framed. Sir, to decide whether a process can happen by itself or not, the branch of chemistry that talks is called thermodynamics. What is it, sir? Thermodynamics. In thermodynamics, you have a concept called Gibbs free energy, delta G. A can become B by itself. If you are igniting petrol, it can happily burn down to give petrol plus oxygen gives carbon dioxide plus water vapor. Urgently it will happen because it releases a lot of heat energy. For this reaction, if you write separately, delta H is negative. It means exothermic. It means heat energy release. Happily, petrol can catch fire to give CO2 and water. Sure. Anything is stable. For example, diamond is really, according to thermodynamics, is not stable. Graphite is very stable. Therefore, according to thermodynamics, carbon diamond should become carbon graphite. In fact, if you put a diamond on a place for a million years, slowly diamond will become just graphite. Yeah. But it is such a dead slow process. Because it is unstable, it is stable. Anything unstable will try to get stability. Okay, sir? Now, whether anything can happen or not is decided by Gibbs free energy chain. If delta G is equal to negative, process can happen by itself. The more negative delta G is, more heat energy is likely to be released and more likely the reaction is to proceed in the forward direction. If delta G value is positive, the reaction will not proceed as you want. A will not become B. In fact, B tries to become A. So for a process, if delta G is positive, forward process cannot happen. Probably backward process can happen. If for any process delta G is equal to 0, the speed of A becoming B is equal to speed of B becoming A. That is, the process is said to be in equilibrium state. Are we very clear, sir? Hello? Ladies and gentlemen, you are trying to extract a metal. You take iron oxide, you want to add a carbon, you want to get iron plus carbon monoxide. Is it feasible? What is the delta G value for this reaction? If delta G is equal to negative for this reaction, it can happen. If delta G is equal to positive for this reaction, it will not happen. It can happen in the backward direction. So I want to look at the delta G values for several reactions. Thermodynamics says that delta G is equal to enthalpy change minus T delta S, where T is the temperature at which the process is happening. Delta S is a measure for what is called change in entropy. Therefore, the delta H is the amount of heat energy released. T delta S is the part of the heat energy wasted. Delta H minus T delta S is equal to part of the useful energy to do any useful work. For example, I am teaching you 100 new points. Out of 100 new points, you did not attend 90 points. They were wasted. So how many points are useful now to you? Only 10. The number of useful points are equal to the total number of points given by teacher minus points you lost by not paying attention. Are we seeing it very clearly, sir? Similarly, delta G is talking about useful energy in any process. If useful energy or delta G or Gibbs free energy change is negative, it means the total energy released and the amount of energy wasted out. If the energy released is more than the energy wasted out, then of course delta G will be negative. Then the process can happen by itself. Are we very clear, sir? Therefore, for different reactions, we can work out the delta G value. At different temperatures for this reaction, I plot the delta G value. Here, delta G is more negative, minus 2000 joules or minus 2000 kilojoules. It is say minus 1800 kilojoule, minus 1600 kilojoules, minus 1400 kilojoules, minus 1200 kilojoules, minus 1000 kilojoules. As you are going up, the value is becoming less minus. At this point, it will become 0. Here it becomes plus. Now, you try to see how the delta G value is changing with the temperature. You notice for any reaction, a graph of delta G versus temperature is called Ellingham diagram. Ellingham diagram. The Ellingham diagram, which is a graph between delta G value and temperature for different reactions, like metal oxide plus X gives metal plus XO. For different X, for different MO, how the delta G value changes with temperature is given in Ellingham diagram. Using the Ellingham diagram, I can decide which is the better reducing agent for me. Common sense says the bottom part is more negative, the top part is less negative, still top part is positive. Therefore, my common sense says more negative the delta G value, more bottom is its position, more likely the reaction to happen in the forward direction. Let us see the meaning of it using a particular graph. This is the graph we have. Ladies and gentlemen, magnesium plus oxygen gives MgO. Let us suppose the temperature is, say, 0 degrees. At 0 degrees, Mg is having a certain tendency to become MgO. Now I look at aluminum. Aluminum is also having certain tendency to become aluminum oxide. Of these two reactions, magnesium reaction and aluminum reaction, which is more likely to happen? If both are there and oxygen is there, which reaction is likely to happen? Magnesium becoming MgO or aluminum becoming aluminum oxide at 0 degrees? Which is more probable, sir? Now I will unmute you so that you can speak. I am unmuting you, sir. Yes, if
MgO,
anybody
sir.
wants to speak, they can speak. Sir,
MgO.
now, obviously, Mg is more likely to become MgO than aluminum. This is true up to a temperature some 1300 degrees centigrade. Above the temperature beyond that red mark, say at 1600 degrees centigrade, which is likely to happen? Aluminum becoming aluminum oxide or magnesium becoming magnesium oxide?
Aluminum
becoming
becoming
aluminum
aluminum
oxide.
oxide.
So the cinema is changing at a particular temperature. Now, we very clearly know at 800 degrees centigrade, at 400 degrees centigrade, at 0 degrees centigrade, magnesium has more tendency to become MgO. Always Mg wants to become MgO. Suppose now I have magnesium and aluminum oxide. I have magnesium and
Aluminum oxide.
Now, in these two, magnesium has more tendency to become MgO. Aluminum is not having greater tendency to become aluminum oxide. If I combine magnesium with aluminum oxide, I am taking the bottom metal and the top product. Now, magnesium wants to be MgO and relatively aluminum oxide wants to become aluminum. If I am coupling magnesium with aluminum oxide, delta G for magnesium to become MgO is negative, and aluminum oxide is reduced by magnesium. Can I see it, sir, very clearly? Hello.
Yes, sir.
So with respect to magnesium, which is more negative, for aluminum reaction, delta G will become positive. For bottom fellow, top reaction is positive. Suppose I compare aluminum to become aluminum oxide, zinc to become zinc oxide. When compared with aluminum, zinc to become zinc oxide reaction, delta G is positive. Yes or no?
Yes.
Technically,
Yes.
both are negative, but aluminum to become aluminum oxide is more negative than zinc to become zinc oxide. So delta G value relatively when compared with aluminum for zinc to become zinc oxide is positive. Therefore, if I club aluminum metal with zinc oxide, urgently zinc oxide will become zinc and aluminum wants to become aluminum oxide. Are we very clear, sir? Hello.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
At 400 degrees centigrade, I can use aluminum as a reducing agent to convert zinc oxide into zinc, but I cannot use aluminum to convert magnesium oxide into magnesium at that temperature. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Similarly, if I carefully look at the zinc can be a reducing agent for iron oxide, but zinc cannot be reducing agent for aluminum oxide. It cannot be reducing agent for magnesium oxide. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Iron can be a reducing agent for copper oxide, but iron cannot be reducing agent for the aluminum oxide, for magnesium oxide, for zinc oxide. Yes or no?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
So always bottom fellow goes forward, top fellow comes backward. For a top oxide, bottom metal can be used as a reducing agent. Are we very clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
That's all, Your Honor. So this is the significance of Ellingham diagram. In Ellingham diagram, always the top product can be reduced by bottom metal. Are we very clear about it?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Hello, sir. Now I want you to read about Ellingham diagram thoroughly. That is your homework for today. Also, I want you to look at this blast furnace and temperature reactions at different zones. So tomorrow we will be exploring some IIT main model questions on Ellingham diagrams and the usage of electrochemical principles of metallurgy day after tomorrow. I think I will put up to 6.3 for exam. Okay, sir? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So here we conclude the class. You can post your doubts if any. Okay, sir?
Yes.
So
Yes, sir.
I wish to conclude my class because a lot of homework has been given to you. I want you to do the homework. Thank you very much for staying with me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, God bless you.